Fury EX started, so we'll head over there right now.
I'm SCXCR, and this is Streets of Fury EX. This started life as an Xbox Live arcade game, and then the developers just kept building on it, adding to it, patching it, and this is the final product. It's from Guard Crush Games, who you might know from differently. You always play Plan A, the raid, and you always play on medium, and then categories are just broken up by character. So, also I'm not sure why GDQ put this in the silly block. I'm just assuming that was some sort of oversight, but whatever, I'm just glad this is in the marathon. So we're gonna play as Ruby Diamond's the speed character, not very strong, but pretty versatile for some of the combos we're gonna pull off. And we're going to start in 3, 2, 1, go. So the first bit of speed tech is you can fast forward through all of the cutscenes. More games need to do this. And the way this game controls is, well, you can notice that enemies are moving in different tracks on the ground. This is something that you might see in like Guardian Heroes and Fatal Fury, which are two games that were big inspirations to the developers of this. And you can do different attacks by holding directions and the attack buttons, of which there are 3. There's a light attack, there's a heavier attack, which is the uppercut I'm using to get opponents into the air, and then there's a power attack, which you're going to see a lot, but you're not going to see it in its intended application. Oh, I missed the drop kick. That's okay, we can make this work. So that little twirl you see me doing when I move forward, that is technically an attack, but it also happens to be the best movement tech for Ruby. So I'm going to be doing that between several parts of this run, because it is much faster than just using the standard dash. And unfortunately didn't get the parry there. Parries play a major part throughout this run, particularly in boss fights. And the reason that they're so important is if you land a parry on somebody, you'll see they'll start flashing yellow. And when they do that, they become more susceptible to damage. Specifically, they'll take something like 150% the damage they normally take. So it's usually pretty important. Whenever you can parry an opponent, you absolutely want to do it. That said, it's much harder to parry opponents in groups because there are more people that can interrupt you before you can take advantage of the parry state. So for this, I need to defeat a certain amount of enemies before the boss will appear. And let's see, this guy should do it. There it goes. Now I'm gonna go for the riskiest strat on all these bosses, and hopefully it works out. Got it. So for the strategy for that guy is to just go for the parry right away. There are 3 different attacks he can do out of that second cutscene that he does. And I always hope that he does the kick, because it's the one that you can immediately parry and end the fight as fast as possible. It's also very important to make sure that enemies die on the ground, because pretty much every enemy in this game has a very long and overdramatic death animation. And you'll get to see that with one of the bosses later on, because it's one of the only enemies in this game that you can't knock into the air. Now, the new thing they introduce here is allied units. But the thing about them is they don't typically do a whole lot of damage. So it's possible to like go back and help them out. If they get knocked down, you can revive them. But I mean, they come back anyway after a little while, so I kind of don't really care about them. They're also pretty annoying because they can interrupt your juggles. And it's going to be more of the same for a little bit, so if you got any donations, fire away.
Yeah, we've got that in spades here. Golem Kid donates $25, saying, first time getting to watch an event live. Glad to donate to such a great cause. We've got Zilpuri donating $10, saying, thank you for a relaxing start to my workday.
This goes on for a little bit, so if you got more, keep going.
Yeah, we've got them. TacoJet42 donates $75, saying, thanks for running the event despite all the tech nightmare of doing it online. We've also got $20 from Dmitry Altukhov, who says, thank you, GDQ crew and runners, for making the marathon a reality in these trying times. Congratulations to Revolution for getting into GDQ after all, deservedly so. Good luck and dread not.
So for that parry that just happened, that's an automatic parry that the game does as a tutorial. However, I had to go slowly into that, because if I do 2 dashes, I'll actually go too fast. The tutorial won't trigger and the enemy will just attack you normally. Usually you can get a double parry on these guys, but one of them was a little late, so the timing didn't quite work out. I'm still pretty bad at parries in this game, because the timing on them is really tight. You have to be within about 1/4 of a second, and then if you miss it, you're completely vulnerable to any enemy attacks. Also, before I forget, I need to give a shout out to Jordi Asensio, one of the developers at Guard Crush, who worked on this, and also plays 4 to 5 different characters throughout the game, including that one, I believe. A lot of the people who did the mocap for this game were like friends and family of some of the developers. Like Jordi's sister is in this. There's another relative of his that's in the game, but I'm not going to mention it because it's kind of a spoiler for the ending. So I kind of glossed over this attack I'm doing where I slam into the ground and an explosion happens. Every character in this game has 3 different Fury attacks that they can use. And Ruby's Up Fury is that explosion. And it's incredibly useful for runs like this because the damage for it radiates across multiple tracks. Are they gonna do it? Yes, they are. So, enemy spawn points are usually pretty set in stone, but sometimes enemy movement patterns are a little up in the air. So, you'll often hope that you get certain enemies to like group up, but it doesn't always work out. Okay, got the double parry. You broke my guard, but that is okay. And we should be in good shape heading to the next area. I try to have like at least 2 Furies if I know something like this is going to happen. So if you hold down in a certain button, you can get the boss, and I use that term kind of loosely, to always appear like on one of the lower tracks. And what I'm doing right now is, because this boss works a little differently, he is going to stay blocking, and he is only going to let go of his block if you knock him out of it. The catch is he has a ridiculous amount of stamina. And this is getting a little out of control. There. What I'm trying to do is free up enough of my allied units, because this is one of the few times that they are really useful. So let's get some of these other enemies away from the boss, and then push him toward my allies. All right. Now that everybody is attacking the boss, his stamina should drain significantly faster. And hopefully something will happen at the end of this. It's a little inconsistent, so it might not. No, we didn't get it. So sometimes if you defeat the boss when he's far enough to the left of the screen, section cleared will appear immediately, and you save a couple of seconds on the transition to the next area. And now welcome to my least favorite part of this run. This area has a lower ceiling, so it means that I can't do like most of the air juggles that I use throughout the run. So instead, I have to improvise a bit. And this is another good time if you have any donations.
We've got Pseudo Design donating $50, saying, always excited to see the fastest block in the fastest charity event out there. Good luck to the runners and keep that support for MSF coming. We've also got $25 from Osman saying, thanks to all the runners, hosts, and tech crew, and everyone else involved in making this great event a pleasure to watch. Donation goes to Tech Crew's Choice.
Shouts to the tech crew, by the way. This game was a little problematic to set up because of the audio channels that it outputs to. So I'm wearing earbuds, and I'm also wearing headphones over the earbuds to make this stream work. Oh wow, they all spawned on the same track. That almost never happens for me. Okay, I gotta back off and then back in. There's something that I'm really hoping happens on the next screen, but it's kind of inconsistent. So in order to get all those guys at once, you have to do a quadruple parry. It's rare, but it is possible. The reason I'm not using the Fury against those guys is Ruby jumps in the air for her Fury. And if you jump in the air against those guys, they'll jump in the air and then immediately smack you with a wrench and just completely void your attack. Now, these enemies are actually helping out by breaking his guard for me, and I'm going to repay them with a quick knockout. It's very important as I go through this area that I make sure I end it with Max Fury, which is a great name for like a comic book character, by the way. Usually I fight these guys on the right side of the screen. Things got a little out of control, but nothing we can't handle. Okay, good. My Fury gauge is maxed out. This boss gives me all kinds of problems. There's a technique I'm going to use for this. I don't know if there's a formal name for it. I just like to call it the air walk. So the boss is behind all of these enemies. So we're going to do the up power attack to jump through. Do a couple of twirls to separate the enemy. Oh no. Well, that enemy just completely messed up my strategy. And now it's just a mad scramble to try and defeat the boss. So ideally what I would do is do the airwalk, Fury down directly in front of the boss, and then be able to separate him from the group, lock him in the parry state, like so, because this boss has a ton of health. If you don't get him in that parry state, the fight takes significantly longer. And there's something else I'm hoping does not happen, because it could cause me to lose like a few extra seconds. Okay, good. So the yellow enemies can get stuck in a ducking animation, and it will cause them to not die once the level ends. So you have to waste time to go back, make sure they're knocked out, and then go to the end level flag. Oh wow, they were actually polite this time. I think I only had one practice run where all three of those enemies actually jumped into the same track.
Do we have time for a quick donation?
Absolutely.
We've got $200 from Entrench, who says, lost count of the years. Proud to contribute to GDQ every year, and especially blessed to be able to do so in 2020. Thank you.
Couldn't agree more.
We've also got As Mistake with $50 saying, I took the week off so I could enjoy this amazing SGDQ online, and you guys are rocking the new format. Thanks for everything.
These are some of my least favorite units in the game. So what they'll do is, if you try to attack them regularly, they will hit you with a counterattack and send you flying across the screen. So my solution to that is to use the Fury while I'm one track over. And this guy just refuses to go down. So this is usually one of the areas where I can lose a bunch of time, just based on whatever the enemies decide to do. Because they'll tend to spawn in like the far side tracks, and then if they don't happen to move toward you, you have to chase them down and knock them out. Now I gotta be careful here. I want to go into the next area with at least one Fury. Okay, that'll work. All right, this is a little inconsistent, but I'm going for it. Yes, got the double parry. All right, now I'm going to just do this for like half of the areas under here, because it serves as a good setup for grouping these enemies together. Now it's possible to interrupt this cutscene and make sure that the ally lives. However, the ally has such little health that it's not really worth going for. He'll just die immediately once he gets hit like on the next screen. I was hoping he wouldn't block. Okay, this is the screen right before the boss, so I'm going to be a little stingy about my Fury use. I'm gonna hold on to one and then just farm these enemies for the last one. Didn't quite get it. You can continue to juggle enemies to farm an extra Fury, but they will eventually explode. Okay, I'm gonna go for a strategy here. Oh, of course they would. So ideally, you could immediately lock the boss into a parry state. However, the blue units have a bad habit of interrupting what you're trying to do. That's okay. We still made it work. For this, if you hear the lyrics start for the... Wow, I don't know why he jumped. If you hear the lyrics start for the background music, that's usually an indication that your fight was kind of slow. And that is going to bring us into the final area. These guys function a lot like the headphone guys, except instead of being able to just make them turn a different color and then don't have to worry about getting countered, these guys will counter your regular attacks regardless of what state they're in. And this is the enemy that parry training features. Parrying is so important in this game that it has its own separate training module. And this is the enemy they use to teach to you. And that is precisely why you want to be able to parry those attacks. these are one of a few enemies that can cause you to just freeze in place for a moment. And not to get too far ahead of myself, but if that happens against the boss, I am in major trouble. And this is actually a pretty good time for more donations if you have them.
Sure thing. Mocking Dragon donates $10, saying, "Hey GDQ, thanks for making an outstanding event happen, even if it had to happen differently this year. Funding medical help all around the world is more important than ever, and I'm glad I could be part of it." And in a similar vein, we've got Z249, who donates $250, saying, "So glad y'all were able to keep this event going despite the pandemic. We need stuff like this now more than ever. Thanks."
Okay, I'm making absolutely sure I have maximum furies going into this. I'm gonna try something risky with this boss. I'm gonna try for a parry, like on the very first attack he does, and if I don't get it, this could get a little chaotic. Okay, he did the wrong attack, so this is going to be a major problem. Okay, we avoided getting frozen in time, so got that going for us. Okay, I've kind of got him separated from the other units, which is good. Yeah, this is exactly why you don't want that to happen. Okay. Now, unlike the previous stages, this is just going to go immediately into another boss. And I'm pretty sure that unit has the longest death animation in the game. You can save time by making sure there are no enemies left, or that they're knocked into the air at the time that the boss completely fades out, but it's pretty tough to get that down consistently. I thought I hit the parry for that. So ideally you would get these guys to like all jump into the same track, and then you can just take care of all of them at once, but you know what? This is the next best thing. I'm okay with this. Now, as this is going on, the main boss is there in the background, but you can't damage him yet, so you have to take care of these flunkies first. And I'm gonna try and bait him into doing like a certain attack. There he goes. This is another boss where it's critical to get that parry state going. I also kept him toward the middle of the map, so it cuts down on the amount of time he's walking to one side. I'm trying to get him to do that fire attack again, but he very rudely interrupted it before. That's okay. You have a 6 continues. So let's try this again. There it goes. Man, these shadows are really not playing nice today. By the way, the spoiler I mentioned before, say hello to Jordi Asensio's dad. So, time is coming up. And time. So that was Streets of Fury. It's a fun little beat 'em up. It's billed as easy to get into, but difficult to master, and I think it fits that bill. And now that the main speedrun is done, it's time to speedrun my shoutouts. Shoutouts to Senton Humphrey on the GDQ staff, who spent literally hours trying to get the sound to work properly for my stream, Davdus Tutus23 and Tetsuo9999, who really did a lot of the legwork for the speedrun, and Davdus, he's like so good with parries, I'm convinced he could just sweep the categories if he really wanted. Runners who got me into speedrunning: Funk Doc, Murphigator, Bonesaw577, Base Boost, Half Coordinated, and then everybody else. My fiance, who is currently asleep in the other room, my cousin Melissa, because cancer can't keep you down, Kevin Love, Buckeye Speed Bash, Midwest Speed Fest, Racing to Help, Orange Cassidy, Mr. Creepypasta, Cheese Soda Punch, Homie D Clown, Jeremiah Isaiah, Bring Bloody Roar Back, my friends at River City Gamers, and everybody at the Guard Crush team. And that will do it for me.
All right, next up, we've got Rocco's Quest, any percent from Nose Jones. In the meantime, we've got Evermore donations. We've got a couple with no comment here. We've got Wondrous Joy donating $50 with no comment. Sir Rhino donating $100 with no comment. An anonymous $25 donation. And an anonymous $20 donation. And an anonymous $5 donation. All those donations add up, so make sure you keep them coming in. We also have Aries donating $50, saying, "After working on the front line since the beginning of the pandemic, my respect for the people who have done this for years all around the world has skyrocketed. I can't imagine the kind of stress that comes with this on a global scale. I've been enjoying GDQ for years now, and I look forward to seeing it for years to come. Thank you to everyone who made the event possible this year. Good health to everyone watching the stream, and good luck to all the streamers. If only I could write a good haiku, but at least I can honk." Zero donates $60, saying, "Thank you so much and giving people hope in these dire times." And we're gonna play a Twitch ad, so hang tight, we'll be right back. All right, welcome back. I think we've got a little bit of time left before the next run is ready. So, in the meantime, what else but reading some more donations? Kiefer Skunk donates $100 saying, I tried going fast once. It was awful, but I'll bet you can go faster than anyone. We're all counting on you. We've got an anonymous $10 donation that says, thank you very much for this great program. It is so much fun to watch. So many great games I didn't even know about. Thank you very much. This is really balm during these hard and tough times. Keep up the great work. P.S. Here in Germany, it is 11:30 a.m. Perfect time to watch.